A spider bites you, and your entire life changes in that moment. You transform into someone with superpowers. This is science fiction's boldest claim. And today in this video, we're taking it seriously. Because behind every version of Spider-Man, there is a different biological logic. Tobey's Peter is completely different. Andrew's is different. Tom Holland's is entirely distinct. And when it comes to the original Peter Parker from the comics, that man's story has been rewritten with every generation since 1962. And each time, it goes deeper. Let's get started. We're going in order, skipping nothing. Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man Trilogy. Let's start with the legendary Peter Parker. A genetically modified spider bites the hand of this young man. He wakes up the next morning and everything is changed. And the Spider-Man figure here is written far more boldly than all the other Spider-Men. In the classic comics, Peter builds his own web devices. But here, that idea is thrown out entirely. Peter produces organic webbing from his own wrists, from his own body. No gadgets, no technology. The reasoning was, I can't believe that an ordinary, financially struggling high school student would develop a device and a synthetic web formula like that. So the bite gives everything: strength, speed, wall crawling, and organic webbing. Biologically, this means a complete transfer of spider anatomy to a human. Throughout the trilogy, this organic webbing becomes an important dramatic tool. In Spider-Man 2, in the moments when Peter loses his powers, his webbing falters too. His body and psychology are completely intertwined. And this detail turns into low-key the funniest scene in No Way Home. Tom Holland's and Andrew Garfield's Peters, both mechanical web users, look at Tobey's organic webbing in shock. So this comes out of you? They ask. Is organic webbing more logical or mechanical webbing? Write it in the comments.
No?
How on earth does that even?
Anyway, we're getting sidetracked. Look, this is where we're gonna do this, okay?
Andrew Garfield, The Amazing Spider-Man. We move to 2012. Mark Webb's film opens with an entirely different question. Who is Peter's father? And how connected is his father's work to Peter's powers? The answer? Very connected. Scientist Richard Parker worked at Oscorp in the field of cross-species genetics. Peter finds his father's documents, infiltrates Oscorp, and enters a laboratory housing genetically modified spiders. One of those spiders bites Peter. Note, there is a critical detail that emerges later in the film. In Amazing Spider-Man 2, we learn that these spiders were designed to be compatible with Richard Parker's own genetic code. So if anyone else in that laboratory had been bitten, they might not have become Spider-Man. Peter's father had encoded this formula specifically with his own DNA. This bite is not an accident. It is a biological inheritance from his father. The biological powers are very similar to Tobey's: wall crawling, super strength, speed, spider sense. But the biggest difference is this. This Peter does not produce webbing. Drawing inspiration from Oscorp's biocable formula, he designs and builds his own mechanical web shooters, entirely the product of his own intelligence. This version is more faithful to a large portion of the classic comics. The original Peter Parker has been using mechanical webbing since 1962. Tom Holland, MCU Spider-Man. Welcome to the MCU. This version starts out structurally different from the others. By the time we see Peter Parker, the spider bite has already happened. In Captain America: Civil War, Tony Stark shows up at his door, and Peter greets him with the homemade costume he's cobbled together. MCU Peter is a genuine prodigy when it comes to technology. He develops his own web formula and constantly upgrades his web shooter design. Tony Stark gives Peter an advanced AI-powered suit. Peter names the AI Karen, with hundreds of different web modes available. Biologically, the MCU doesn't explore this in great depth, but we understand that the spider reflexes and spider sense are entirely biological. The webbing, however, is entirely mechanical. Then, in No Way Home, something very interesting happens. 3 Peter Parkers from different universes come together, and all of them share the same fundamental biological powers: wall crawling, spider reflex, enhanced strength. This implies that even across different universe physics, a spider bite produces similar biological outcomes. Would MCU Peter have been enough without Tony Stark? I want to see that in the comments. Miles Morales, Into the Spider-Verse. With Into the Spider-Verse, the story literally moves into another dimension. And Miles Morales is not just a new Spider-Man. Biologically, he carries a different mutation from Peter Parker. In the film, the spider that bites Miles is from another universe called Earth-42. Kingpin's Super Collider transports this spider into Miles' universe. So Miles is bitten by a spider not designed to make him his universe's Spider-Man. This accident is the fundamental dramatic tension of his story. The results? Miles gains 2 extra abilities on top of the basic Spider-Man powers. First, Venom Strike, a biological electric shock. Second, the ability to camouflage, that is, invisibility. Peter Parker has neither of these. In the comic book version, the spider that bites Miles comes from a different origin, a species called Specimen 42, genetically modified in Norman Osborn's Oscorp laboratory. But in both versions, the result is the same. Miles adds his own unique biological abilities on top of Peter's powers. Comics, the original Peter Parker, Marvel Comics. Now we come to the real subject. Peter Parker in the Marvel Comics has a far longer and more layered biological history than all the films combined. This story has been continuously evolving since 1962. Everything begins in Amazing Fantasy number 15. Peter Parker, created by Stan Lee and Steve Ditko, is bitten by a radioactive spider at a science fair, August 1962. In the classic comics, Peter uses mechanical webbing, with a web fluid formula he developed himself. This mechanical device is the most tangible proof of his intelligence. A high school student, with no special resources, created this formula. In 2001, when J. Michael Straczynski took over Amazing Spider-Man, everything changed. JMS placed Peter's powers within a mystical framework. Perhaps the spider bite alone is not what creates these powers. Perhaps Peter is already part of a universal spider totem network. During this period, in parallel with the Raimi films, organic webbing also entered the comics. But this part was later reversed, and Peter returned to his mechanical webbing. And here we come to the matter of Shathra. This character first appeared in JMS's 2002 run of Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, number 46. Shathra is a wasp goddess, a cosmic entity that hunts spider totems. Her first encounter with Peter took place in 2002. Then, in 2022 to 2023, with the End of Spider-Verse storyline written by Dan Slott, she made a major return and became the main antagonist threatening the entire Spider-Man universe. This means that Peter Parker in the comics is not merely a genetically altered human. He is positioned as part of a cosmic order, the web of life and destiny. So look, Tobey is organic and entirely biological. Andrew is mechanical and carries a hidden genetic legacy from his father. Tom Holland is tech-dependent but has very strong biological reflexes. Miles is a different evolutionary line with 2 extra abilities layered on top of the standard mutation. And Peter in the comics, he is both the forerunner of all of them and the most complex version. He has been rewritten every decade since 1962. He went back and forth from mechanical webbing to organic webbing, from scientific origins to cosmic totemism. But here's what I notice. They all share one thing in common: a bite, a human, and the question of what that human will do with these powers. That's why Spider-Man speaks to every generation, because it's not about power, it's about responsibility. That theme never changes. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button. Write in the comments which Spider-Man version's biology you find most interesting. I'm genuinely curious, and I'll see you in the next video.